Everyone knows about the Roswell crash, but no one talks about the second one, especially not the boy who saw it. Corona, New Mexico, July 5th, 1947. The desert wind was sharp that night. The air smelled like burning metal and something stranger. Ozone. Maybe 10-year-old Benny Keller had snuck out of his family's ranch house to catch fireflies. But what he saw instead was a flash of blue light so bright it made the stars disappear for a moment. That IT didn't fall like a plane. It didn't move like a meteor. Twisted, folded, collapsed inward like it was vanishing, not crashing. And then it hit the earth just over the ridge. The ground didn't shake, but Benny felt something inside him shift. EBE-1 morning. The military was already there. Trucks with no insignias. Men who didn't speak. No one told the townspeople what had happened. But Benny had already seen it. That he told his father, who slapped him and told him to stop lying. He told his mother, who simply cried and whispered, "Not again." By the time the sun set, Benny had gone quiet. Completely. He never spoke again. 4 days later, news broke of a crash near Roswell. An unidentified flying object, the paper said. The next day, it was revised, a weather balloon. Case closed. But Benny's town, Corona, had no headlines. No investigations. Only rumors. An Air Force document later classified under Operation Silent Sky briefly mentioned anomalous debris field, approximately 28 miles north of primary incident. That line was later redacted in 1994. A retired radar technician named Harold Vex published a self-funded memoir titled, "I Listened to What Fell." In it, he described a brief, encrypted military transmission intercepted on July 5th, 1947. Secondary object located, smaller, biological traces confirmed. One civilian observed. Immediate containment enacted. The memo received no attention. 3 months later, Vex was found dead in a motel room in Flagstaff, Arizona. Official cause, suicide. No blood. Just an empty cassette case on the nightstand over the decades. Benny became a ghost in his own home, but he never spoke. He never reacted to sound. He spent most of his adult life in a small psychiatric facility in Taos. He would sit by the window every night from 10 p.m. to midnight, watching the sky, never blinking, never crying. That on his file, under initial trauma, a single word was typed: exposure. In 2003, a researcher named Lillian Cruz from the University of Colorado was granted access to declassified microfilm files at a shuttered Air Force base in Nevada. One roll contained a photo dated July 7th, 1947. Blurred, black and white, poorly lit in the image. A wreckage field. Twisted metallic structures that looked both artificial and organic. And in the corner, a young boy, wrapped in a silver blanket, being led away by 2 men in hazmat suits. Lillian tried to locate him. That boy, she later confirmed, was Benjamin Keller. Her next article was never published. Her office was found burned a week after she disappeared in 2021. A Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, request forced the release of Memo 72B. It included a report of non-terrestrial material discovered at a crash site outside Corona, dated July 6, 1947, 1 day before the official Roswell retrieval. The document was heavily redacted, but one unaltered phrase stood out. Civilian witness remains non-responsive. Subject has not spoken in 74 years. Recommend indefinite observation. Today, in a secure medical wing at an unnamed federal hospital in the Southwest, there is a room labeled Patient 001 Delta. Inside, an 87-year-old man sits facing the window. He does not respond to sound. He does not acknowledge visitors. But on clear nights, especially in July, staff have reported a strange behavior. He raises his hand and draws shapes in the air. 1 circle, 2 dots. Then something like a triangle upside down. Always the same, always silent. What did Benny see? Was it truly a second crash, or was it the real crash, the one the Roswell story was meant to cover? Why did the military arrive before sunrise? Why did the only child witness fall silent for life? Why did the researcher, the technician, and the journalist all disappear without a trace? And why, in a locked medical room in the Southwest, does a man who hasn't spoken in 78 years still raise his hand on the same day every year, drawing the same shape? Circle point to an upside-down triangle. For decades, it meant nothing, until last summer Point 1 nurse, alone on the night shift, claimed she saw him stand. First time in years, he walked to the center of the room, looked straight up at the ceiling, not the sky, the ceiling, and whispered 2 words, "They're returning." The room went cold. The surveillance camera glitched just for 11 seconds. Outside, a radar tower detected an object breaking entry into lower stratosphere speeds. .NO transponder. No military INO explanation. The next day, Benny was silent again, and that shape, it appeared drawn into the frost on the hospital window. But this time, there was a 4th mark. Final black screen, static fade in with voiceover whisper. This story is entirely fictional and dramatized for entertainment purposes. But what if Roswell was never the mystery, and the real secret was buried 28 miles north? What if the crash wasn't the threat? What if it was the warning?
If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that like button, tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and most importantly, subscribe for more stories with powerful twists and unforgettable endings.